Okay, so here's the status with Bezier strokes. It kind of works, but there are a lot of edge cases where it doesn't. I think before even getting to those edge cases, I need to address this problem where expanding the tile expanding the tile that this is written on affects the thickness of the line. Since I have to project this onto a tile. It can affect it in a really bad way sometimes. Like if I expanded the X direction a lot, then the stroke gets really distorted. So I have to fix that. And once I figure that out, though, it's just a matter of discarding the fragments that aren't part of the curve, and that'll be that. But I have to get that thickness consistent. So, how can I make this tile have consistent units on both dimensions? Because right now, this measured from 0 to 1 in the X direction and the Y direction. But those two dimensions have different lengths, so it leads to this distortion in the thickness of the line. So what I need to do is when I'm projecting to the tile, I need to do it in units that are consistent for both dimensions. I think this is going to require just taking the max of the X and the Y lengths and then dividing the shorter one into the larger one. I think. So I would want to say like, get a float to get the tile max dimension, I guess. I actually don't know if I want to do this here. I'll do it here for now. This will just be the max of the X length and the Y length. So then one of these is going to be shorter. And that shorter one, that shorter one will have to be converted into units that are units relative to the longer one. So I think all I need to do is, when I'm doing this division, since this division is like taking the length of one vector, everything from here to here is the length of a vector. And likewise for everything in the second row, then I'm dividing by the length in that dimension to get the percent. But I think I should be dividing by the max in both cases. So let me try doing that. Diggs, by the way, what's going on? I am currently hoping that I can figure out these stroke shaders. because they are very difficult. And they're not that helpful for Manim either. So yeah, and that ended up being wrong, dang. It's not just division by the max. Because that distorted where the curve was located. I think what needs to happen is I can do this division to get the distance in the x direction and the y direction. But if I do that, I have to also change the maximum in the x and the y directions. So right now the x length is that, the y length is that. This will probably come into account when I'm computing the distance, I think. Does it mean the fragment shader? I actually have to draw this out. Otherwise I'll probably end up spending a lot of time. So I'll have the Bezier curve, which is in Manim units, and it'll have its points. Something like these. And these points get projected onto a tile. Basically like this. And the distance is computed in the coordinates of this tile rather than Manim coordinates. So how can I change the units of the tile so that the distance will be consistent? The way it is now is like, if this was really long in the x direction and comparatively short in the y direction, this would distort the thickness of the line, and I guess that kind of makes sense. It would be like really thick in the y direction, and then the x direction was sort of be a lot shorter, so you'd get some effect like this, which isn't what I want. I think the solution to this is that instead of measuring these with these coordinates, zero, 1, and 1, 1, I need to take whichever the longer one is, probably leave that one at 1. And this one, the y coordinate should be like the x length divided by the y length. Okay, something like, or the y length divided by the x length if the y is shorter. And this way, at least those units are consistent. The question is, that actually might solve a lot of the problem, since I need to update the texture coordinates too. Maybe that's what I did wrong before. But I'm gonna check. So this is where I'm projecting onto a tile. Okay, so the tile coordinate. So the tile coordinate is used to compute the distance in the fragment shader. Right there. So that tile coordinate needs to be updated with the transformed tile coordinates. So let me compute all this tile data here. Then I'll even expand this tile. See how that looks. And it looks actually a little better than it actually is because this tile is nearly a square. Which minimizes that distortion. But if I were to make this a 2 and this a 4, you'd see a bit more of that distortion. Okay, and so what I want to do... so I have the origin. I have the unit vectors. The x vectors, the y vector. And these are all in Manim space. So here I'm going to transform the coordinates, the tile coordinates. I don't even know if that's something that needs to be done here. It needs to be done to this, the tile point, definitely. So maybe, I think what I need is something like float of the x tile length, or maybe I should call this UV length or something like that. X, let me call it UV max. I gotta make sure these names make sense. But what would this be? Well, first I'd actually need the maximum of both of them. Expand the tile. And I'll have UV coordinates for dimensions or any points on that tile. So I get that max dimension, that's a tile x length and tile y length. Then the UV max for the x will be the tile x max by the length of that. Oh, this isn't even a variable, tile x length. How did I compute this up here? Just like this. So I get the x length and the y length. The longest dimension, the max dimension, is just the max of the x length and the y length. And the x UV max, the maximum value in UV coordinates, is going to be the tile x max divided by the tile max dimension. And so what would that be for the y? And this should be the same thing. Okay. So what this is saying is that a point like try to work this out and make sure it makes some sense here. So if I had this point previously, I'd have parameterized this point as half 1. That's what I previously would have parameterized this as. However, if we called this distance, say that's just 2, and this distance was 1, then now what I want this to be parameterized as is half. Oh, well, not comma. Half, because these we should be using the same units. Okay, and then since going half way, well then it's going all the way to the top, and that distance would be 1, which is half of 2, so then it should be half half. And this is actually consistent with these new tile coordinates. And then this point, I wasn't trying to do that, but this point would be 1 comma half. And that should keep the units consistent. So I hope that's what this will do. Like in this example, if the tile x max was 2, this will bring the x UV max to 1. And if this length was 1, this would bring the y UV max to 1/2. So then when I'm projecting onto the tile here, and I think I do it somewhere else. Nope, it's only here. So I have to project all these points onto the tile. I'm given the origin. X max and Y max are vectors. It might actually be fine to... Oh, I guess I need these values, these lengths, inside the function. But I also need them outside the function. Yeah, I'll just pass these in. So passing the tile x max, which maybe this should be called tile x vector or something. I think it should. Let's see if this still runs. And it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. Line 60. Yeah, this should be the length. Okay, so I can get that. Tile x max, tile y max. And I do need those vectors. Okay, so I'm gonna rename this to tile x vec, and the same thing with y. Since it's representing the vector from basically the origin up for the y, the origin this way for the x. Okay. tile or the XUV max and the YUV max. Actually, these arguments be laid out like this, I guess, or like this. So then I have two floats. XUV max, YUV max. Great. Okay. And this is what I'm doing right now. So now, when I'm coming up with the dimensions, I want to first do this vector projection. Let's look at the length in Manim coordinates. Yeah, all of these are in Manim coordinates. The length of that vector in Manim coordinates. And I want to divide that by the just the maximum. The maximum of the tile X length and the tile Y length. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna draw this out too. If I'm projecting a vector onto this tile, there are a few steps. For this vector, I project it into this vector. So that's the first thing. Then I need to take this ratio how do I draw this? If this is like tile X vec, then I want to take this ratio, and the X coordinate is going to be the length of this projection divided by the length of the tile X vec. Underscore. And I take this ratio of the XUV max, which I can't really fit on this. And this will be the X coordinate. So let me just work all of that out step by step. So I'm gonna split a lot of this up. I'm gonna vec 3, this will be the X projection. Let's see. Dotting that translated curve would be X vector. Then divide by the length of the X vector. Which I'll just compute this in line. So that's the projection. I'll move this down since I'm only using it here. Once I have that projection, Then I can take that length. Let's see, float x UV ratio or something. Oh wait, this isn't a vector. I need a unit vector somewhere. Or do I actually? I'm just gonna divide the lengths. So I just call this x projection length. Then the x UV ratio will be the x projection length divided by the length of this vector. Now this is the same thing I have here. But there's one more step, which is the XUV coordinate. Is this ratio. The x projection length divided by the length in the x direction times the XUV max. And I think this is what I actually want. Yeah. I guess I'll do the same thing for y. Okay, then I'll just run this, and there's something wrong with it. On line 30 here. It's true, it's just a float. It's a float. And I typed a name wrong. Here. Or substitution wrong. Okay, so it's running again. Okay, so that's good. So I needed was that origin, the x vector, the y vector, the UV max, and the UV max in both directions. Cool. So x length divided by the max dimension. That makes sense. And the y length divided by the max dimension also makes sense. So this should work for that projection once I make the substitution. And then the tile point, I'll also want to project. So the GL position has to be just this, the tile point without transforming it or projecting it. The V point, this needs to be in the UV coordinates, because this is going to be used to compute the thickness, the distance for the thickness. So I call this a project to tile. And mostly all the same stuff. And tile origin, x vec, y vector. Yeah, all the same stuff. I'm just projecting the tile point this time. Actually, I shouldn't have done that all at once. Let me paste that. Make sure that right now it does the same thing it did before. And now I'll try to make this change all at once. So, Aqua Beam, what's going on? I'm just wishing I was better at geometry out here. Okay, so this should be the X UV coordinate. And I did that wrong. X UV coordinate. And this should be the Y UV coordinate. And this point, yeah, this point should be projected, the tile point. Yeah. If I run this now, okay, this is actually perfect. Not because the thickness makes any sense, because the thickness is constant in both directions. And so now I should be able to, hopefully, I can go to the fragment shader. Like, turn this down. And that's perfect. There's a consistent thickness along the entire curve. And now, I also want to make sure if I make the tile, if I change the size of the tile, that shouldn't change the thickness of the line. And it doesn't, so that's great. And I want to try that in the Y direction too. Great. Okay. So I'm going to make the tile a normal size again. It's a normal-ish size. Although I think expanding this tile, I guess this is being done in Manim space, so that's good. Yeah, I guess that's fine. -1 times the tile x unit. Is that distance 1? So normally the tile size is like, it only contains the control points. And I think I'm expanding it with distance 1 in both directions, distance 1 in Manim space. And I guess I'm not totally sure if that's 1 or not, but it looks good. So I'm going to take out that data I didn't need, so this. Don't need that. The length, oh wait, I do need that, because this length is computed twice. Also, I shouldn't be doing that, I should be doing this. So this is tile x length. This is tile x length. This is tile y length. And this. Great. And I just did this to-do. I can put this down here. And that's pretty neat. Now. Cool. So that's really nice. I'll take this out. eventually I'm going to discard the entire tile that isn't the curve, and it'll look something like that. Which looks decent. Then I'll need to figure out the units of the thickness. However, I'm pretty sure this doesn't work. Actually, I know this doesn't work if I start rotating the line. I know it won't work. But for now, I'm going to commit this. Wait, what did I change? Not that much. I can take out this print though. And the new line. Now I want to add the vectors object stroke shader. Stroke this. I don't even remember what all these files are. These consistent coordinates, consistent UV coordinates. Yeah, that's kind of hard to articulate what it's supposed to do. Okay. So the problem with this is going to be if I rotate this line with this updater, for example, my highlighter is not having a good time. If I rotate it like this, pretty sure this will not work. It's actually doing better than I thought it would. Expected that to like really go crazy. That kind of shows it. Like, yeah. And this isn't doing what it's supposed to do. And I think I know why. Maybe if I show the tile, maybe. Hopefully the debugging for this won't be too insane. But I can start by fixing this problem. This tile isn't really expanding correctly when the shape is like upside down, quote unquote. And I think I know what that is. But I don't totally know the solution. The problem is that this code right now, it's being given these 3 points. And these control points, yeah, I guess the curve isn't that important. And the way it computes this tile is that it makes this the origin always, computes this vector, computes this vector, because the shader is passed a normal, so it can project this. And then it just expands this a little. And this is the tile. But that doesn't work if the shape is, oh my gosh, give me a break. If that shape is rotated and you have, say the order was like this or something like that, then it always picks this to be the origin. It always computes this vector and this vector. And then I don't think the projection will work if these vectors are situated this way. It actually definitely doesn't work. I think it definitely doesn't work. At least while I was coding it, I had this image in mind, so it probably won't work with this image. What I think I want to do is for a curve like this, I will still want to tile something like this. But I have to think more carefully about where I want the origin to be, or how to even project vectors onto this. Because if I have a vector that I want to project onto this tile, say I want to project like, oh, not like that. I want to project this vector. It's actually not that different. I'll still project it down here to find the x-coordinate and so on. But really I need to revamp the way that it computes this tile, I think. Still in a quadrant. Raises the question, why rewrite it this way in the first place? And the reason for that is that the shaders that Grant wrote are not compatible with a paradigm known as model view projection, which I should be able to get a link for that. This paradigm. And the fact that you can't do this with the shaders that are provided is a massive drawback. It makes everything a lot more difficult. all of the 3D positioning that you'd like to do with your objects, you just pretty much can't do. So I'm rewriting all of those right now to be compatible with this. And currently I'm doing it with the strokes. That's why I've been working on this example. And you can see this tile isn't being made correctly, but this is the stroke algorithm that Grant wrote. This is one that I wrote, and I'm trying to basically iron out all the kinks with this one. Oh, rip. That was really bad. Okay. Well, at least you got that link. Yeah, I was trying to show something else. But this is what you can't do with Grant's shaders. This is the example of the stroke shader that's compatible with projection and or the fill shader that's compatible with the projection and the stroke shader that isn't. So I'm halfway there. And this is Grant's stroke algorithm on the right and the one that I'm rewriting on on the left, and then the one that I'm rewriting on the right. So I'm trying to iron out the kinks with this one. Okay, it's a long answer for a fairly complicated question, but that's what's going on. So the goal right now is for this tile not to basically do that. It actually might not be a huge problem. No, it's probably a problem. It's probably not that great. Okay. So then I'm gonna want to find a way to compute the dimensions of this tile from 3 general Bezier coordinates. I think what's gonna have to happen is that regardless of the orientation of those points, I'll have any 3 points somewhere in space. So maybe it'll look something like P0, P1, P2. And then I guess I can arbitrarily pick between P0 and P2. So I'll pick P0. So that gets me the tile origin. And actually this vector is computed in the same way too. I'm not totally sure if this vector is though. Since what I'm doing, I need to move this to the other screen, I think. Yeah, I'll just put that there. So I'm taking that P0. Here I'm taking that vector from P0 to P2. Then here, normalize the tile vector. That gets me the unit, so that's totally fine. word P1 from P0. I have to do this basically. And I think the way to do that is to take a dot product. Is it? Basically, I want to know if, given this point, which is P0, given the x vector, and given a normal, how can I tell if this point, which is P1, tell if the normal is pointing at P1? Is there a way to do this with a cross product? I think that's not what I need to do. I think what I need to do is translate P0 to the origin and then take a dot product. Basically make sure this dot product, this, I'll call this V1. This has to be positive. I think that's all. Maybe greater than or equal to 0 will work. So how would I do this? There's the unit. And the vector is actually fine too, I guess. Well, not really. I'll have to flip this. I have to do the check here and flip this vector. So first translate P0. Origin, so wait, these are both vectors, right? Shouldn't it be sufficient not to translate anything? I think it should. All I need to do is if the dot product of the normal that I just computed, which is this, and then V1 minus, or P1 minus P0, which is this. If this dot product is negative, then I need to flip that. Okay, now I think it should always be pointing in the direction. I did not expect... Okay, I expected pretty much none of that to work. Shaders are very finicky, but it looks like this is doing what it's supposed to do, at least in this dimension now. So that's cool. Although I am redoing some work here. Current curve at 1 minus current curve at 0. I'll call this P1 vec. I don't know. 0 to 1. I'll just call it P1 vec. I don't know. Like this. And it should be the same thing. here. Now I see there's the extra parentheses here, so now... Great. Isn't there a good way to enable syntax highlighting for GLSL files? Maybe? Maybe. But I don't know how. If I just did it for C, it would probably pretty much work. But I don't even know how to configure that, actually. So yeah. Okay, so that, I'm actually really surprised that worked. Which I'm a little bit annoyed with that. Because I think this problem will be a lot harder. I have no idea why this is happening. Why is that happening? Around the out axis. Wait, hold on. Wait, what did I do? Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So that's the problem I just solved. How do you enable it for Python? It was actually, well, there are a few things. This is my Vim config. I think the highlighting is done by tree sitter, which is this thing though. Enable it true, disable equals whatever. This is my color scheme. What I think it is that Vim doesn't recognize the file type. Like if I edit a random C file, I do int main void. Like I didn't configure this either. I think Vim's just recognizing it. So maybe if I had a way to tell it which extension corresponds to which file type. Couldn't I? Maybe I can just do file type C. Something like that. Auto command. That's not what I want. Set ft equals that. Did it work? I feel like that basically worked. Yeah. But how would I do that for anything called GLSL? I think I would need, see now I'm not even working on Manim. If I go to auto commands, I think here. Wait, this is for auto formatting. Is it here? Python Go, Gemini Solidity, file type Python, buff. I think I want like buff enter, then like check if it's a GLSL file, then do file type equals C. But anyway, I'm probably fine just manually setting it to C. So great, we did that. What was I doing? Oh. Okay, so that's doing what it's supposed to do. This is rotating around the out axis. Now if I rotate this around the up axis, I think it like does something weird. Yeah, why would it disappear like this? And then start doing that. And this I don't know. Maybe it's... Maybe it's if that tile becomes too nearly flat? But then I don't know why that would carry over to all of the future times when the render is called. But I actually do mob2.rotate. And I need to reset this entire thing actually. Do I? I hate this thing. Then exit, and close this, and close that. Then open it again. Because my highlighter was doing some weird stuff. Then I'll just run this again. Okay, if I run this, that's fine. And I want to gradually rotate it more until it runs into that problem. Yeah, this is what I want so far. Because I think if I rotate the original Mobject, the one Grant wrote, it also does this. So far this is right. Here it starts doing something weird. Actually, Grant Shader is kind of doing something weird too. But why is this suddenly way shorter? Like, why? Let me try this with 4. Here it's working. Here it's working. This is in radians, right? Okay. Here it's working. And here. If it starts happening at exactly 0.5 radians, that'd be kind of interesting. But 0.5 radians isn't even that meaningful of a quantity. It was like 0.5 pi radians, that might mean something. Looks like it is 0.5. Yeah, even at 0.499. Well, there's something up with 0.5 radians. And I don't know what it is. But something with the tile expansion isn't working at that point. I guess I could try computing this by hand, but that'd be super painful. From P1 from P0 toward P1 from P0. If I had this Y unit, I wonder if... Okay, so here it's doing that. And I could see that it's expanding incorrectly in the Y direction. So maybe in this specific case, if I don't flip that normal... No, that doesn't do it. Tile Y vec. I'm gonna expand the tile in the direction of the Y unit vector. Just so I can see what direction the Y unit vector is. So it is pointing in the right direction. Maybe if this isn't even... Well, normally this wouldn't be that big of a problem. But since it eventually stops working, that is a problem. It looks like the Y unit isn't actually a unit vector, something like that. If I expand it one more time in the direction of the Y vector. Yeah, it looks like the unit vector... It looks like in one direction it's a unit vector, in the other direction it's not. So I get these X and Y lengths. Project the curve onto the tile. Get the tile point. So what's actually transmitted as part of the tile are the GL positions. So there must be something up with the tile point here. It's a tile origin. Basically the x coordinate times the x vector and the y coordinate times the y vector. Can I split this up? Guess I can. So maybe that y vector is just shorter than it's supposed to be? So I say this is like 2 times the y vector. And run this. And that seems to work. Is the y vector too small, perhaps? The dot, the P1 vector with the tile y unit. I'm going to see if I can verify that the tile y unit is actually length 1. To do that, I say if length tile y unit is 1, B color equals like blue or something. thing that makes shaders pretty frustrating is that you can't print. You can only color things. So I'm gonna set this color to blue. Then I'm gonna change this to the color. And I think this should change it to blue if this length is exactly 1. It is changing it to blue. In order to verify that, I set this to 0.9. And you say else. So blue means I was right, red means I was wrong. Okay, if I run this, so now it's wrong. So this is exactly 1. Okay, and then I'm dotting the P1 vec dot the P1 vec with the tile Y unit, and then divide by the tile Y unit. And what this does is project the P1 vector onto the Y unit. So I have this point, this point, this point. This is the P1 vec, just because I call this P1, this P0. The length of the tile Y vector is less than 1. Well, this vector is length 1, we already know. Which means this dot product had to be less than 1. Is this dot product negative? Let's see if this is negative, which I don't think it should be. It's not. See if it's less than 1, which it is. Why would that be less than 1? Tile Y unit in general, if a projection has length less than 1, say I'm projecting onto a vector, and this one is length 1. Then I project something, and that length of the projection is less than 1. Like this. So it must be a situation like that. Is there any reason this would happen as you rotate more? Here, less than 1. Less than 1 is blue. Okay. Change this to 0.49. It's still less than 1, actually. I guess that isn't that strange necessarily. As long as I'm not enforcing anywhere a fixed size for the tile. But I do think that the height of the tile in this case should be 1. So I don't know why that's not happening. Okay, so it's less than 1. Let me see if it's less than 0.7. Nope. 0.8, no. 0.9, no. 0.95. Still no. Is this like 0.99 or something? Less than 0.99 is false. If I say equal to 1, it's also false. If I say less than 1, that's true. Okay, so this looks like some just rounding error, actually. Okay, so this does look like just some rounding error. But the length of the deck is almost exactly 1. I guess it's not even necessarily a bad thing. Oh wait, did that make it 0.5? Okay, in this case it is less than 1. Or not greater than 0.999. So that's less than 0.7. It is less than 0.5. And it is less than 0.3. 0.1. No. So like 0.25 or something like that. Less than 0.25. This is why you should never program shaders, by the way. .23. So something like 0.23. Well, less than 0.23. but not less than 0.22. Is it this? Nope. Larger than that. Larger than that. Larger than that. So this looks like basically 0.23. And it's just some rounding error or something. .31. We'll see if it's less than that. And it is. So this drops to like basically 0.23. But if I have this 0.49, then it's pretty much 1. Rotation angle around the up, so this is 0.5. Length of tile Y that is roughly, I'll just do this, I guess, or maybe this, roughly equal 0.23. But if it's less than 0.5, then it looks like this is always 1. I'll put and. So I'll put 1.1 here. I'll put 0.9. And that's a red. Oh, I wanted it the other way around. Like this. And that's blue. So it only drops when that angle is that size. I guess that's... that's kind of weird. It's really unclear why that would happen. But I guess it isn't a big deal. Is it? I mean, the entire curve is still covered. Although, if it does this sort of change, then in instances where I have to expand the curve a lot, like if this was 6, then that would get clipped off. And that'd be a problem. Where in this computation could that problem be happening? It has to be something with the y vector. It's just this, really. I feel like this is just some graphical thing that can't really be fixed this way. What if I don't bother to expand the tile? That'll make this a little simpler. Oh yeah, that's really bad. Let me do the updater. I have to update both of them. Grant's shader is actually doing something weird too. Although it's less weird than what my shader is doing. Mine like basically vanished. Let me rotate this slower. Almost the same thing. Places where it works and doesn't work seem really arbitrary. Actually, Ranch Shader is doing it too. It's expanding and unexpanding at the same time in the same locations that mine, like, does something weird. Let me look at this again. Yeah, and Grand Shader is getting a lot smaller here. And it's a lot larger here. So I think this is some sort of either a GPU bug or something more complicated like that. Which is super annoying. So how can I work around that is the next question. Is it possible to work around that? If I just expand the tile a ton? Maybe that's not good. If I make this a 4, make this an 8. Make this a 4, make this an 8. No, but that won't... Well, let me see. Yeah, there's still some places where it just disappears. I love math. It would make sense to me that this would do something really weird. At like pi over 2 radians. I feel like this is just not working. I do this. Let's just make this pi over 2. Okay, I guess with perspective, pi over 2 like isn't straight on the camera. I guess a little less than that. Close. It's actually working. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, that's working. I guess as long as Grant's shader's doing that too. Maybe this is the same stroke bug that was happening to other people. Actually. Okay, well, that's that, I guess. Regardless of this, I'll still have to, make sure that the thicknesses are consistent between Manim and the shader. Okay, so that's pretty disappointing. But I don't think there's any way to get around it. That time it worked a little better. I rotate this around the out axis. Luckily, this works perfectly. As far as I can tell, it's doing everything it should. And if I did like the right axis, I have no idea what this is doing. It's working better for Grant's shaders, but both of them are broken. I think there's something about this camera angle, is that it? Okay, because now it's working. Yeah, kind of working. I guess that's okay-ish. Let me try rotating it around the up axis again. This was the hardest one. Then decrease that camera angle. Okay, and now mine are like more broken than Grant's, unfortunately. Although they're both kind of broken. Dang. This looks like something that should be fixable though, I think. Yeah, I think. Because the question would be, why is the tile turning flat? And is this only happening with that one camera angle? I always set the default camera angle. I don't even know if I can on this branch. Here's what I'll try instead. I'll set this to 0.5, which is where the bug starts. Then come down here. It's actually still working. Go back to the updater and try it like this. Actually, let me rotate this more slowly. Man, I feel like this is just a GPU bug, something like that. These like jumps don't make a ton of sense. Also, why did it get so... Why is it always filled now? That was weird. Well, I guess I can try to look for one of the angles where this happens. And then try to debug it from there. So I'm gonna put just like 1.5, something like that. See how it looks. It's actually fine. Maybe 2. Same thing. 2.2. And now this bug just isn't happening. That's annoying. Is it something to do with updaters? Because there's a point at which it happens really consistently. After like pi over 4. I hate shaders. Because while I was doing the updater, this never reached pi over 2. It started crashing at the point where it reached pi over 2, but if I put it at pi over 2 and I fix it there, then this works. What happens if I do this? Oh, I mean, and add the updater. It disappears later on. Okay. Well, these camera angles are occasionally completely broken. I wonder... No, it's something in the vertex shader. Something in the vertex shader. But I don't know what it would be. Pi over 2, I'll try pi over 4. I wonder if this is accidentally being stateful somehow. Okay, 3. It's so busted. And then sometimes it just comes back. Wait, is it back? Oh, stopped again. And the side distance field is doing something weird too. I wonder if I could be... like... Passing the points incorrectly doesn't even really make sense here. Okay. I'm just gonna leave this how it is right now. And see if it's feasible if I don't use rotation to draw letters with this. So I guess I'll just need this I. I'll try adding this. Let's see if I can make that appear. Guess not. Buffer cannot be empty. Okay. Wait, that's really weird. Why would this be empty? Our stroke data at 2 bytes. Interesting. So it's line 280 here. I'm gonna try just printing that stroke data. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, that's totally empty. The whatever. This should be discarding. Let's see what this does. Okay, so it's not perfect here. That's for sure. And it does need to be perfect. Or pretty close. It's not so bad though. There's some places where it's thicker than others. That's really weird. And it is an anti-alias, so there's that. I wonder why some places are thicker than others. That's really strange. And this is happening mostly on the straight lines, which might make sense. The tile expansion might do something really weird around straight lines. Let's get a V shape. Let's see what this does. Oh, and then I'll have to change that thing. Where is it? Here? Now this looks fine, it isn't anti-aliased, but the problem I think arises when one of them is fully vertical or fully horizontal. It should be add line to. Add line to the origin. The same thing here. Okay, so that's doing the same thing. That should be add line to here. Okay. So there's some other problem with that. I'm not going to deal with that right now. Right now I'm going to just add a line to the origin, then add a line straight right. The thickness actually looks fine here. Let me start this out going up. Just up, and I don't know, up itself is an array. So I think that's what I want. Nope, this looks fine. Which brings back the same question. I wonder if I can draw with this. I can, it looks like. Get a longer runtime. It's something about these straight lines. It doesn't like that. I don't know why. The thickness is like growing as the line is drawn. Project at data at points. Let me get only the last like curve. It's like from -3 onward. I guess I can't do that. Surprised it didn't crash. I think this is these are valid curves though. I'm going to just add it. And I'm just going to show this whole thing again. This is the entire eye. Can I do all except the last curve? There's no effect. Okay, that makes sense since that isn't a multiple of 3. Okay. Can I get that last curve, please? It's making life really hard on me. Okay, so this one is longer for some reason. To -9. Whatever I can do from -9 to the end. Okay. Let me try doing -12. And -15. Okay, so here I can see this pretty significant difference in the thicknesses. So I'll try drawing the tiles around these two. Well, these 3. Yeah, they're overlapping too much to see, really. Really, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to shift over one of the curves. So points, every row, well, not every row, every column in rows up to 3. I want to shift right. Not on every frame though. So I guess this I want to do text at 0. Data at points. From -15, -12, something like this. Okay. Managed to isolate those two at least. Yeah, I'm gonna try to move the rest of it further off to the side. Or let me just move this up and stuff. Move this even further away. Now if I look at these tiles, well, I see that those two are overlapping. Is the tile like really large for one of these? Let's do -15, just -12. Well, I want two curves. I guess to -9. Okay, then I have to figure out why the distance is different on these two. And I wonder if that has something to do with just the size of the tile? If I expand this much more in the X direction, that is affecting the stroke. So that's a problem. Wait, that actually makes sense, I think. I never did any conversion from Manim space thickness to UV coordinate thickness. So I think that makes sense. I'm gonna move it further to the right. Move that further to the right. So if those two don't overlap, then expand this more in the vertex shader. Yeah, and this is affecting the thickness, which it shouldn't. Okay, so that'll be the next thing to address. Okay, that was really long, really complicated, and I can't handle any more of it, so I'm going to call the stream here. Luckily, I was able to make some progress, but alright, thanks for everyone who watched. Oh, I even got a follower that I guess didn't show up. I don't know. But okay, I will see you guys in the next stream.